If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. It's been one of those years in Cleveland, the kind that tests not just the patience of fans, but the faith of a franchise that's spent decades searching for sustained success. The Browns entered the 2025 season with expectations that felt cautiously optimistic. The defense was elite on paper, the backfield deep, and the arrival of new offensive pieces promised at least a spark of creativity. But as we near the midpoint of the year, it's safe to say that spark hasn't exactly turned into a flame. Injuries, inconsistency at quarterback, and a system that hasn't found its rhythm have left the Browns' offense in a constant state of flux. And caught in the middle of all that chaos is third-year wide receiver Cedric Tillman, a player who many believed would take that next step, only to find himself derailed by a hamstring injury and a sputtering passing game. Yet, as bleak as things may look from the outside, there's growing belief that Tillman's story for 2025 is only getting started. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox made waves this week by predicting that Tillman could be the breakout star for Cleveland in the second half of the season. It's a bold take, especially considering how little Tillman has been able to produce so far. Just 13 receptions for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns across 5 games. His best outing came way back in Week 1 against Cincinnati, when he racked up 52 yards and looked like a legitimate vertical threat opposite Jerry Jeudy. Since then, though, injuries and inconsistent quarterback play have kept him quiet. Still, Knox's argument is simple. If there's any receiver on this roster primed for a surge, it's Tillman. At 25 years old, Tillman's talent has never been in question. He's a big-bodied receiver with soft hands, deceptive speed, and a knack for winning contested catches. Browns fans saw glimpses of that late last season, when he strung together a 4-game stretch with 302 yards and 4 touchdowns, before a brutal concussion ended his year prematurely. That stretch was the kind of breakout that scouts and coaches had been waiting for since the day Cleveland drafted him. He looked confident, fluid, and in sync with the offense, all traits that had been missing from his rookie campaign. When he went down, the offense lost a crucial weapon, and the Browns never quite recovered. Fast forward to this year, and the narrative feels eerily familiar. Tillman was expected to build on that momentum and become the steady complement to Jerry Jeudy on the outside. Instead, he found himself back on injured reserve early in the season with a hamstring issue. For a player trying to prove himself, that kind of setback can be devastating. But with his activation from IR in Week 10, there's a renewed sense of hope round Bria. The Browns desperately need someone to step up on the perimeter, and Tillman, healthy again, might be the guy who finally fills that role. Part of what makes this potential resurgence intriguing is the shifting dynamic within the Browns offense. Rookie quarterback Dillon Gabriel has started to find his footing. His command of the huddle is growing, and his chemistry with Jeudy and rookie tight end Harold Fannin Jr. has been evident. But as defenses begin to adjust, focusing more on those primary targets, opportunities are starting to open up for others, especially a player like Tillman, who thrives in one-on-one situations. With new play caller Tommy Rees taking over offensive duties, there's reason to believe the scheme could evolve in a way that suits Tillman's strengths. Rees is known for crafting balanced attacks that rely on rhythm and timing, 2 things that could help Tillman get more consistent looks downfield. It's easy to forget how much upside Tillman actually brings to the table. At Tennessee, before the Browns drafted him, he was a nightmare for sec defenses. A true vertical weapon who could body smaller defenders and win deep. His route running has sharpened considerably since entering the NFL. But he's yet to have that signature stretch that cements him as a top option. That could change now. The Browns are at a crossroads, their season teetering between potential turnaround and total collapse. When that kind of tension builds inside a locker room, it often brings out the best or the worst in players. For Tillman, this might be the defining stretch of his young career. The pressure isn't just about personal stats or breakout labels. It's about survival in an organization that's been unrelenting in its search for production. The Browns front office has shown in recent years that it won't hesitate to make moves if things don't click. That means the second half of 2025 could be Tillman's final audition to prove he belongs in the team's long-term plans, and there's something poetic about that. The idea that his opportunity comes when the team needs it most. If he can stay healthy and find rhythm with Gabriel, the Browns could suddenly have a 3-headed passing attack That forces defenses to play honest again. Of course, there's always the flip side. This is Cleveland, after all, where hope and heartbreak often walk hand in hand. If the offense continues to stall and Rees can't find consistency in his play calling, even a talented receiver like Tillman might find himself buried in the shuffle. Jeudy will get his targets. Fannin, as the exciting rookie tight end, will continue to be a safety valve. The question becomes whether there are enough balls to go around and whether the quarterbacks can deliver them accurately. The Browns' offensive line has been inconsistent, and Gabriel, though improving, is still prone to rookie mistakes. Those are the kinds of details that can make or break a receiver's comeback story. Yet the optimism remains stubborn. Coaches have praised Tillman's work ethic throughout his rehab, noting that he stayed mentally locked in even while sidelined. His return to practice in Week 10 reportedly injected new energy into the receiving room. Teammates have described him as laser-focused and hungry. Those aren't just cliches. They're signs of a player who knows what's at stake. Tillman understands that the narrative around him can change in just a few games. One explosive performance, a couple of deep catches, a touchdown in crunch time could reignite the spark that made him such a promising prospect. What's fascinating is how his resurgence could reshape the offense's identity. Cleveland has leaned heavily on short passes and screens to compensate for shaky protection and inconsistent quarterbacking, but with Tillman back, the Browns finally have the personnel to stretch the field again. That vertical threat could open up the entire playbook, forcing safeties to back off, giving Jeudy more room underneath, and making the run game more effective. It's the kind of ripple effect that doesn't always show up in box scores but can completely alter a team's rhythm. And make no mistake, rhythm is exactly what this offense needs. For too long, drives have sputtered after 1 or 2 first downs. Explosive plays have been rare. Momentum has felt fleeting. That's why Tillman's role is so pivotal. He doesn't just bring physicality and athleticism, he brings balance. He's the kind of player who can change a game with a single contested grab. The kind of receiver who forces defenses to think twice before loading the box. If Rees can scheme him into mismatches, and Gabriel can deliver with timing and confidence, the Browns might finally unlock the version of this offense fans were promised back in September. There's also an emotional element to Tillman's journey that resonates with fans. Cleveland supporters have endured more false dawns than any fan base deserves. They've seen draft picks come and go, seasons derailed by injuries and inconsistency. Tillman's potential breakout offers a glimmer of redemption, not just for him, but for the team as a whole. A young player overcoming setbacks, seizing his moment, and helping pull the Browns out of a slump. That's the kind of story this city rallies behind. It's gritty, it's hopeful, and it's exactly what Cleveland football is supposed to be about. As the season pushes into its final stretch, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every game matters now, not just for the standings, but for the future direction of the franchise. Will Tillman rise to the occasion? Can Rees and Gabriel create the kind of chemistry that sparks a late-season surge? Those are the questions hanging over Bria this week, and while no one can predict the future, it feels like all the ingredients are there for something special. Tillman has the skill set, the opportunity, and the hunger. Sometimes, that's all a player needs to flip the narrative. If the Browns can get back to playing balanced, complementary football, letting the defense set the tone while the offense finally finds rhythm, then maybe, just maybe, this miserable start could give way to a redemptive finish. And if that happens, don't be surprised if Cedric Tillman is right at the heart of it. Because every great turnaround story needs a catalyst, and for the 2025 Cleveland Browns, Tillman might just be the one to light the spark. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Stefon Diggs, one of the most electrifying wide receivers of his generation, has officially signed with the Cleveland Browns, and the news is already sending shockwaves through the AFC North. For weeks, the league has been buzzing with speculation about Diggs' next move. Ever since his contract situation left him in free agency limbo, rumors were swirling. Insiders were weighing in, and fans of multiple teams were holding their breath, wondering if the dynamic playmaker would stick around in the NFC, or finally make the leap to the AFC. And now, it's official. Cleveland has secured a player who can redefine their offense and instantly change the trajectory of their division. The Browns, historically a team that has flirted with greatness but often fallen just short, are clearly signaling that they are ready to make a statement. And landing Diggs is the kind of move that does exactly that. What makes this signing particularly fascinating is not just Diggs' ability to create separation and haul and highlight reel receptions, but also the timing and context of it. For a player of his caliber to enter free agency and not immediately ink a deal with a team in the playoff hunt is unusual, and it fueled countless debates across social media, sports radio, and even locker room chatter within the league. Analysts were split on whether Diggs' decision would come down to money, championship aspiration, or perhaps even personal connections with quarterbacks and coaching staff. The Browns front office, known for being meticulous but occasionally conservative in big splashes, clearly threw caution to the wind, understanding that a player like Diggs doesn't come along often. The speculation alone had fans on the edge of their seats, imagining how the team's passing game could evolve, how defenses in the division would have to adjust, and what this meant for the long-term blueprint of the franchise. You can already hear it. The murmurs around the league are loud. The Ravens, the Steelers, the Bengals, all teams that have dominated headlines in the AFC North, are suddenly facing a new challenge, one that could rewrite the balance of power. Diggs isn't just another receiver. He's the kind of athlete who forces a defense to pivot its entire scheme. His speed, agility, and route-running precision make him a nightmare for corners, linebackers, and even safeties when he's at his peak. Imagine the adjustments the Browns coaching staff must be making right now. How to integrate him into an offense that already has talent, how to build chemistry with the quarterback, and how to maximize his presence without overloading the playbook. The mere presence of Diggs changes game planning at a fundamental level. For teams in the AFC North, that's a headache they weren't necessarily anticipating. And it's a headache that could redefine matchups for years to come, and it doesn't stop there. Diggs' arrival in Cleveland also adds layers to the narrative of his own career. He's a player who has never shied away from being in the spotlight, from shouldering pressure, and from stepping into situations that demand elite performance. Every catch, every touchdown, every jaw-dropping moment on the field has been part of his story. And now a new chapter begins in a city that's hungry for a contender. The fans, who have experienced the highs and lows of the Browns' roller coaster history, are suddenly energized, imagining the highlight reels, imagining the playoff runs, imagining the electrifying games that could become instant classics. And let's be honest, when Stefon Diggs is involved, instant classics are practically guaranteed. His ability to turn routine plays into spectacle is unparalleled. And for a franchise that has often been seeking that X factor, this could be the spark they've been missing. Rumor has it that the discussions leading up to this deal were intense, with multiple teams throwing proposals into the ring, each trying to outbid the other, each trying to promise the elusive combination of money, opportunity, and a shot at glory. Yet, the Browns were able to convince Diggs that Cleveland is where his talents could shine the brightest, that the offense is ready to be molded around his unique skill set, and that the franchise's ambitions are aligned with his own. Behind closed doors, sources say there were long meetings, detailed breakdowns of routes, projections of targets, and even strategy sessions imagining hypothetical defensive schemes from division rivals. Every angle was covered, every possibility analyzed, and ultimately, the Browns emerged victorious in what could easily be one of the most consequential free agent battles of the year. The ripple effect of this signing is already being felt across the NFL. Teams are recalibrating their rosters, questioning whether they missed a chance to counter Cleveland's move, and reassessing what it will take to stay competitive in a division that is suddenly more unpredictable than ever. The Bengals' passing attack, the Steelers' evolving roster, the Ravens' dual-threat quarterback system, all of these units now have to contend with a receiver who can change the narrative in a single game. And while it's too early to predict outcomes, the chatter among coaches, commentators, and insiders is unanimous. Stefon Diggs in a Browns uniform is a game-changer, a headline grabber, and a player who elevates the discussion around the entire AFC North. Let's not forget the cultural impact as well. Diggs is a star, not just in performance, but in personality and influence. He brings charisma, media presence, and leadership qualities that resonate in the locker room and beyond. Young receivers in the league are watching, teammates are inspired, and the fan base is already constructing highlight reels in their heads. The Browns, a team with a history of striving to escape the shadows of their past, now have a figure who embodies skill, excitement, and ambition, a combination that can ignite a fan base and energize a franchise From social media speculation to casual viewers, everyone is talking about what this means for Cleveland. And the energy is palpable. What remains to be seen is how Diggs will integrate with the current roster and how quickly the offense can adapt to exploit his strengths. Will he immediately become the go-to target, or will the team gradually build plays around him? How will defenses respond in high-stakes matchups, especially with divisional rivals who are no strangers to tactical adjustments? And perhaps most tantalizingly, what does this mean for the Browns' playoff aspiration? The whispers in the league suggest that Diggs' presence alone raises expectations, not just within Cleveland, but in every city that will face them. There's a sense that something significant is brewing, and while the season is still unwritten, one thing is certain. The landscape of the AFC North has shifted, and everyone is watching closely to see the fallout. In the end, the Stefon Diggs signing isn't just another headline, it's a story filled with intrigue, strategy, and potential drama. It's a move that carries weight, excitement, and the promise of electrifying football. Fans are already debating the implications. Analysts are charting out scenarios, and the Browns themselves are preparing for a new era. Whether this becomes the defining acquisition of the offseason or simply a pivotal turning point in the team's ongoing journey, one thing is undeniable: the AFC North just got a lot more interesting. And Cleveland has made it very clear that they're playing to compete at the highest level. The buzz won't die down anytime soon. And the league is holding its collective breath to see how this gamble, this bold statement, unfolds on the field. Stefon Diggs in a Browns uniform is more than a rumor fulfilled, it's a narrative in motion, a story waiting to be written, and a development that could reshape a division known for its intensity, rivalries, and high-stakes drama. Every fan, every player, every coach in the AFC North is now recalculating, because the Browns have just changed the game. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!